Okay, so here I am, and I'm back after a long break. After getting content ID'd on my Flim Flam Brothers episode, I got very discouraged. Well, I wasn't getting a whole lot of views, and I just kept getting content ID'd for having still pictures. Geez, YouTube, you can't put up video, you can't put up audio, you can't put up still pictures. These videos have to be 100% original content or else you get hassled. On top of all that, I wasn't getting a lot of views, I wasn't getting new subscriptions. My entire subscription count is from before I started all of this. And even that's not very high. I was just getting to the point where I felt like, what's the point of doing all this if nobody pays attention to what you're saying? But then I decided, forget all that, let's just finish the journey. Or at least finish it until I get to the point where I become that transition between being curious about the show and being a fan of the show. When I hit that point, maybe I'll do the rest of season 4. And if you want reviews on the stuff that I saw when I finally became a fan of the show and I was playing catch up, which is the bulk of seasons 1 and 2, then I'll do those, but only after I become popular and it becomes something of a demand. Unless I get some extra motivation and free time to fill up those gaps. Once I finish what I'm doing on this journey to becoming a brony, then I'll go into doing occasional rants on whatever happens to be on my mind, whether it's pony related or not. And I'm going to keep trying to make sure that whatever I put up is completely my own content, so I don't have that hassle anymore. Anyhow, moving on to our topic. Today, let's finish up season 3 and make that transition into season 4. The next little piece of My Little Pony exposure I had after Super Cider Squeezy, can't say the full name of that without getting my tongue tied, was Just for Sidekicks and James Pony's Play, which I only watched parts of those, and one I didn't even watch all the way through because I thought I was watching the same one I just watched previously, and I didn't catch on to what they were pulling on me until too late. The plot to Just for Sidekicks was extremely typical, extremely predictable. I knew exactly what was going to happen before it happened, and it just lost my interest in following the series for a while. Then, after watching a bunch of mashups on the internet entitled Chew on My Little Pony, I began to get curious about the character of Discord. Now, after watching the mashups that combined Pony episodes with Star Trek episodes, I was quite well aware that there was a character with Chew-like powers that someone was dubbing John Delancey's voice over the existing cartoon character. After doing a little bit more research on the character, I realized that it was indeed John Delancey who was legitimately voicing this character, and that it wasn't just Star Trek clips dubbed over a My Little Pony villain with added effects and fancy editing, that everything I was seeing in the pony clips was really, truly part of the Discord character, and that this was a legitimate attempt to create a bona fide Hugh villain, which I found fascinating. Unfortunately, knowing from reviews by some of you bronies, you know who you are, I already knew that Discord's final fate was to be turned into stone at the end of Return of Harmony. So I skipped watching that and went straight to Keep Calm and Flutter On, which was Discord's return in that episode. So this was Fluttershy getting the responsibility of trying to reform Discord, while Discord tries to see what he can get away with. We get a good show of his chaotic powers and his ability to do just about anything. And I tend to go back and forth while I watch this between comparing him to Q from Star Trek and comparing him to the genie from Aladdin, as well as any other character with phenomenal cosmic powers. Fluttershy basically takes Discord into her house. She puts up with his shenanigans and gives him room to be himself. And when it turns out that this whole time he's been up to something, Fluttershy puts him to the ultimate test to see if he will choose her friendship or his freedom. And when Fluttershy surprises everybody, including the audience, by revealing that she was setting up a test and not being naive about the situation, she skates out onto that ice and she refuses Discord's offer to join him on the dark side. And that's enough to make Discord realize that there was something more that he wanted, and he really did value friendship. The thing that saves this episode for a lot of people, myself included, is the fact that at the end of the episode, Discord says he's been reformed and he'll be good most of the time. It's that most of the time part that really lets you know that he's not really reformed and he can still be up to shenanigans in future episodes. So whatever Discord was to you people in the past in that episode I didn't see yet, he's still gonna be that lovable, crazy character. Just now, in upcoming seasons, we have the potential to make him an Aladdin's genie character and have him pop up and do impressions and make silly things appear and basically do anything he wants, whether it makes sense or not, because it's okay since he's Discord. And I always do enjoy the Aladdin, Discord, Puck, Mr. Mixus, Pitlick, all those other characters whenever they appear on shows, because they're always funny and they always do something crazy and wacky and fun. Now, if Discord is to be done right and follow the Q model, from this point on, he should only appear once in a while. Not used too much, but also not underutilized either. He should appear when it's just right to give an important lesson and to make a point. If this droid ends up being in every single episode, or at least more than 5 episodes per 26 episode season, then like, let's say if you were in like 15 out of 26 or 20 out of 26 or whatever, then he would become more of a genie from Aladdin. Because Genie, with all of his power and craziness, was in every episode of Aladdin. And this tour could easily end up going that way if he ends up becoming too overused. So it becomes a bit of a question. Would you rather see this tour be that rare appearance that hops up once in a while, and when it does, it's so awesome, it's so good, you treasure every moment of it? Or would you rather have him be there all the time, constantly on, constantly silly, constantly doing shenanigans, constantly pulling out those pop culture and fourth wall jokes, being silly all the time? Do you want Q or do you want the Genie? This is a thing that can go either way in season 5, and it's so hard to say which would be more interesting. Although personally I'm leaning towards the idea of seeing him only once in a while. The other note about this tour and his appearances is it takes a couple of episodes to soak it all in. Sure, he's doing something right up front that's interesting, but then there's also stuff that happens in the background, especially with this Fluttershy episode. And that's the fact that you see those beavers in the background working on their dam while the distracting stuff is happening in the foreground. You watch this episode your first time through, you forget completely about those beavers until it's too late. But if you really pay attention, they're always there doing something in the background to remind you that their plot hasn't been forgotten about. And in later appearances by this tour, you also have that something in the background that is going on that we're maybe not supposed to notice, but it's clearly happening. You also have that sort of master plan side to this tour going on, where he'll casually be eating those sheets of paper, and you don't know why at first, but then it turns out to be pages from a spell book that could have prevented him from being himself and having his fun. And then you realize, wow, he thought that far ahead to eat those pages. This is a master manipulator. This is someone who's 10 steps ahead while you're still back at the beginning. Overall, I'd say Keep Calm and Flutter On was an enjoyable experience. Even not seeing what came before, even knowing a little bit of spoilers going into it, it was still a lot of fun. In the next video, I'll be going over what happened in Magical Mystery Cure. I'm gonna split things up here and get back to you next video. Either way, thank you for watching and good night.